Hi, my name is Nikku Sharma. I am a Toronto real estate agent. I have been in the business for over 10 years, and today I'm going to talk to you about what to expect when renovating your home. So now that you've chosen a team, you have a house, you've chosen a team, you're going to go renovate your home, what to expect? Well, surprises is kind of it. Generally, if you made it to this point, you have drawings, you've made some holes in the walls, so you're pretty much prepared for things to come up that potentially like knob and tube, some structural issues. They tend to come out right at the beginning when you start to, demo the walls. So be ready for those surprises. And I know we talked about in a previous video having a contingency fund, and that's what that's for. But really, it is understanding that all these things come up and they can be managed. So that's what you need to expect, is being able to manage as these things, sort of pop up that may not have been on your radar. Some things will be minor that you won't have a huge impact on your contingency fund. Sometimes things like knob and tube can have a huge impact. And knob and tube, generally you would know already that exists in the home by now, and you probably have a sufficient electrical budget to support that, so that's okay. Some of the things that we had come up were really actually major structural things. We had to jack up our house about 6 inches, and we didn't see that until everything was down to the studs, and we said, okay, well, good to know, that's something that needs to be fixed. But I think one of the biggest things is, especially if you're going to be involved, is be okay with asking why things are the way they are. So if you notice, that there's plumbing stacks running and there's a huge gap between two pipes, it's okay to ask, like, okay, why is there that big of a gap? Can we make it closer? So be ready to challenge what's there and understand what's there, because I think that is going to help you really be okay with the layout and what changes you're going to need to make. For example, in my kitchen counter in the corner, there were two pipes running beside one another, and there was a huge gap in between them. And had it not been for me questioning it, that gap would have stayed massive and I would have lost a significant portion of my kitchen countertop, which we ended up addressing and found a way around it. So these are things that you need to communicate on, you need to be present for. So if you are somebody who's doing this renovation for yourself or your family, I would suggest that you go in to your home once a week, a couple times a week, if that is feasible for you and your family. And if that means you are taking turns with a friend or your partner, then you need to make that effort, because doing things later or changing things around from the original plan can get expensive. That is where you're going to lose out on money if you're not kind of proactive in looking at these things and looking at the details. And it goes back to even duct work, right? There's ducts that you can get that are round, there are square ones, there's rectangular ones. So you really need to understand, okay, what fits in your home? What's going to give you the most ceiling height if they're running through the ceiling? What's going to, possibly impact your crown molding, right? These are things that we don't think about until those pieces of the puzzle are already done. So if you're not able to visualize, ask for help. Expect to, get a lot of information from your general contractor or whoever you're working with thrown at you when you go. So if there are, if they're telling you this is where the bathroom's going to be, this is where the fixtures are going to be, sometimes it helps to draw it out. So, make sure you always have painter's tape with you. It was my best friend, painter's tape, as well as a measuring tape, what's it called? A measuring tape, because that really helped me visualize what rooms are going to look like, where I added closets, where the closets are going to be, how big the bed is going to be. Sometimes in a construction zone, it can be very difficult to visualize. So having these tools in your pocket helps you, really see light at the end of the tunnel sometimes, because it can feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much going around. There's so many things that I need to manage and juggle. And sometimes you lose that vision. So it's very, very important to, be prepared and have that ability. What else do you need to know? So when pieces start to be put together, like for example, fireplaces or, kitchens or closets, tweaking things a little bit is easy and you can do it, right? But sometimes things may feel larger than they actually are in the grand scheme of things. So part of it is trust that, the fixtures that you've chosen and the size that you've chosen is all going to come together. So be prepared for that. Be kind of, for me, I had panic moments and I'm like, oh my God, the kitchen island is going to be too big. We won't have enough room to move around, or our fireplace is going to take over the living room. And that is okay. It happens because you're looking at it from a raw, unfinished place where the drywall may not be up. But making tweaks like the edges. So for example, we added a closet in one of my daughter's bedrooms, and those edges I didn't like. So when you went into the other bedroom, they were very, very sharp and too close to the door. So I decided to round those edges and kind of create a more of a softer finish. And these are things that you can do. But again, don't panic. Talk about these little things. Find out if there's solutions. Find out if anything can be done about things that you don't like. Are there little nooks and crannies that you could potentially use as shelving, or a place to put your laptop? Add electrical there to kind of make use of that space. So there's a lot of things that even in the finishing phases can be overwhelming, but they can also be a great opportunity if you catch them and if you talk about them. So don't necessarily feel like, oh, well, it's done, so I can't do anything, but I won't say anything. It's better to always communicate. So that's another piece I think that's very, very important throughout the process, is ask, communicate. Talk about the things that you see that could work, that couldn't work, that you don't like. Because at the end of the day, this is a home you and your family are living in. And I think it's so important. You don't want to look back a year from now and be like, I should have taken that opportunity. So yeah, I think that is what you expect in renovations. It's just a lot of back and forth and a lot of things happening. But just know that you got this. You got to keep communicating and don't panic. It will all be okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this really helpful. And if you did, please let me know. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer based on my experience renovating our family home. And come back for more content.